Welcome to the Spa Girls podcast, the self-publishing podcast for authors. You're in the right place for the best writing, marketing and publishing advice, plus interviews with industry experts and best-selling authors. I'm Cheryl Phipps.
I'm Shar Barrett.
I'm Wendy Valla.
And I'm Trudy J. The four of us back together, just like the Beatles.
Here we are. We're nearly hale and hearty. Char's got a bit of laryngitis, so
and your
might not
voice
hear
is
too
sounding a
much
bit
from her.
husky too, Cher. I don't know.
No, this is my normal morning in Pocono voice.
Oh, okay.
Allergy voice. There's a lot of allergies
It's
around at the moment.
It's the damp. We're in the middle of winter, people. It's like
Okay.
Cold.
All right. Awesome. So this week we've just been to conference. We've had an amazing time, fabulous effort. Congratulations to the people who organised that conference. Honestly, it was fabulous. I really enjoyed it. And we just wanted to talk about some of the things we learned at conference and kind of how to recover from conference, and then how to use the information we got at conference. So basically we're just going to say the word conference over and over
The
again.
whole way.
over and over.
The
again.
whole time.
And adding to that, it's the Romance Writers of New Zealand
Thank
conference,
you.
which
Yes,
we've
that's true.
all been going to for a significant number of years.
Yeah. And it's honestly, I think it's the best conference in New Zealand. I don't think I've been to other ones, and other ones are good, like but this is definitely the most comprehensive. We have the best speakers, and this year was the first time, I think, in 5 years that we've had international. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
correct.
Which was amazing. So we had the amazing Becca Syme at conference this weekend.
So good.
And I think that's where we want to start. We finally convinced Cheryl, who was the last holdout of the Spa Girls, to do her Clifton Strings. And in fact, it wasn't us that convinced her.
No, I was going to
In
say
fact,
it wasn't us.
Becca Syme said that Cheryl didn't need to do her results, and thereby freeing Cheryl up to kind of decide
To
for
do them.
herself. And then she did them, which was a mastery of
It was
psychological.
really amazing.
Yeah.
She told me that nobody can force you to do something like that. And the mere fact of why I said I didn't want to do it, she said that showed her that I didn't actually need to do it. So that was because she's just such an amazing person, so inspirational. Seriously, you had to be there. And I was like, you know what? Then what? Why not do it? Because it's it's not going to trigger me or harm me or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, okay, are we allowed to ask you to name your top 5, Cher? Are you willing to share with the group?
Well, you can. I will.
Yeah.
All right. Go.
So, number 1 is developer. Number 2 is harmony. Number 3 is maximizer. 4 is consistency, and 5 empathy. And I'm not sure that particularly surprised anybody.
No.
Except me a little. I thought to myself, but I want to be input or strategic or something like that. Something, like go-getter and all that. But
No, maximize is pretty good.
Maximize is
and
great.
the first one's pretty good.
What was the first one? Say the first one again.
developer.
Developer,
What's that?
Cultivate the potential in others. You spot the signs of each small improvement and derive satisfaction from evidence of progress.
That's
And
cool.
that is
very
truth.
true.
Yeah.
What a
And
wonderful
actually, empathy I love.
trait.
Empathy, I think, is an amazing thing for a writer to have, because it allows you to access the emotions and to feel those kinds of things, and that you need to be putting across in your books. I'm kind of jealous of the people with empathy in their top 5, so that's another one. She has a lot of the people traits, right? And I think it's
interesting.
But that also goes to what she's writing, because she's writing about people and communities and the developer as well. So absolutely.
Becca was, I thought, one of the best speakers I've listened to in a very long time.
And it's high praise from Wendy, because Wendy's heard a lot.
But I just felt when she stood up, she just commanded the room. It was, and you know me, I'm very against a lot of anything, pretty much everything in life. But in this
against everything, just
whatever
it is, Wendy's probably against it.
If it's anything to do with woo-woo. Anyway, I was pleasantly surprised how invested I became in her talking. and especially her last keynote one at the end of the.
That was one of the
Think of it.
best last keynotes that I've ever had.
Absolutely.
Like everyone's tired. It's the last speech of the day. You kind of half of the room's not paying attention. Well, oh my God, every single person in that room was paying attention to Becca. You could have heard a pin drop. Like she
There
had
was
a
tears
like-
too. There was a lot
I felt
of
like
tears
she was
too.
talking to everybody individually. Did you get that feeling?
Yeah, I felt like she
That,
saw right through me.
Yeah.
It was like very, very, I felt very sort of
Mm.
split open at that moment in time, to be fair.
Yeah.
It was good. So what I think, do we want to talk about our takeaways from
Well,
what
can
we
I
got
just
from it?
mention one thing that I
Yeah.
I mentioned it before we press record, but I want to mention it again, just because it was an epiphany for me. And so we had Wendy going around the entire conference going, well, now I understand you and Shah, because you guys are input and learner.
I'm sure I didn't do it the
I
whole
understand
weekend.
that you guys have to learn stuff. And now I know that. So that was kind of nice, even though it was slightly...
And so
There
I
was a
was
tone.
really
There was a tone.
Okay. No,
Slightly
not
tongue-in-cheek.
true. And I was really nice to you guys all weekend, wasn't
Yes,
I? I
you
was like,
were.
I understand you need to learn, and Cheryl and Trudy kept looking at me as if to say something's going to drop. The next shoe's going to drop here.
I
I'm
felt like
waiting
there
for
was
her
a
to
joke.
come at me, but it wasn't. I was like
It's
the new
true.
me. I was very harmony. I was, I was like,
Yeah, all the things.
wow.
And
But
you
then-
were well. You were
Yeah, and I
hale
was
and
well.
hearty.
Yeah, I
And
never
then-
did well at conference. Yeah.
I know you did really well. And then Becca talked about responsibility and achiever. And those are two things that are in Wendy's top 5. And so she talked about the achiever needing to finish things and achieve goals. And that was how and that was like, wow, that's Wendy all over, like having to finish something, needing to be at the, like just constantly needing to finish the next thing and just keeping on going like an Energizer bunny, because it wasn't about the doing of it. It was about the finishing of it almost. And that was like, wow, yep, no, that's 100% Wendy. And then there was the responsibility one, which was like, if I make a promise, I'm gonna meet that
Fulfill it,
promise,
yeah.
like 100%, like meeting deadlines. I can't. And I just was thinking back to earlier in the year when Wendy had all this stuff happening, and she needed, and we were all saying to her, "Come on, Wendy, just extend that deadline. You're in charge. You don't need to. You can go to your editor and say change the deadline." And Wendy was like, "No, I'm not going to change
sure I
that
didn't,
deadline. I'm
but
going to make it, and I'm going to kill myself in the process." And that was her responsibility, and it just kind of opened my eyes to kind of.
And that's it, though. What she said made me see myself, Cheryl, you two, completely differently to what I've always seen you. And I mean, not as a person, but in your work life, and myself. And when she was saying people who have some of my things are very almost traumatized by the need to get stuff done, and I was like, oh, wow. As she was talking, I was like, wow. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's me.
And then because you've always said, you had the moment with, oh God, was it Bella Andre years ago? And Bella said, get away from those craft workshops. Don't go in. And I was always like, oh, why does it matter? And then now, after listening to Becca Syme talk about those two things, it made me realize that you go into a craft workshop, you hear these things, and you feel like you have to put every single one of them into play, and you will like kill yourself trying to do all of that. Whereas I go to a session and I'm like, oh, well, maybe I'll use some of it, maybe I won't, and that's okay. I just like the learning, whereas you are like, I have to do something with this because that is, and it was that's the thing. And I was like, absolutely, Wendy should stay away from all of those. Because...
But you look around, and I think Cher was writing a few notes, but not really. Sort of, she wrote a few things down. But I looked at, I looked at all three of you, and you get Trudy and Shah were scribbling, like writing. And Cher and I were not. We made a few notes on things.
Salient points that struck a chord.
Yeah, I drew a really good picture. But other than that,
the reason I write notes is not because I ever look at them after conference ever again.
To take them on
board. Although I have looked at some of the ones from this conference, so we can talk about that. But normally it's so I can pay attention, because if I'm just sitting and listening, my mind wanders. I forget to listen. I don't. But this. Whereas if I'm taking notes, I have to listen to what they're saying because I have to translate it.
I think a lot of people are like that, right?
And that's how I survived university. Like if I hadn't written notes, I wouldn't have.
For me, I have to be present. I have to be present in the moment. It's like constantly taking photos or videoing stuff. You're actually doing two things. So are you giving either your full attention? I don't know. But for me, maybe that's not how I'm wired.
Yep.
let's look at my strengths. But I really have to be there if I want to get something out of it. And I can doodle a good picture from time to time if I'm not. So I think really that sets us on the path of what do you want to get out of conference, and being able to choose the craft sessions or the marketing sessions or the things that actually you're really going to be interested in. You know, like,
agreed.
I don't mean it's a waste of time going to the others, but like I couldn't I did a full day on Friday and was absolutely wiped out. So on Saturday, I only picked the ones that I couldn't bear to miss, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think that's
quite
really
freeing, I think.
Really good point. I think particularly when you start off going to a conferences, you want to do every single thing, and it is exhausting mentally and physically.
Yeah.
So
you're scared to miss out, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you pay a lot of money to go to conference, right? So you want your money's worth as well.
Yeah.
So I totally get that, but it's just that we've been to so many. I think that puts us in a bit of a privileged position of being able to pick and choose.
But,
and I think,
what we've learned, I think, is also that different people learn in different ways and need different information. And someone like Wendy maybe doesn't want to go to every single session.
Well, I made an actual choice coming to this conference.
Yeah.
It's the first time ever that I've made a choice to go to. I probably only went to 3 workshops out of the whole lot, and 2 of those, one on the Friday, one on the Saturday, and then the last speech from Becca. That was it. And that was purely and simply because for me, and I'm not going to say I know craft and I learned everything, because that you never learn everything. But for me, I really wanted to tap a little bit more into mindset and stuff, believe it or not. I wanted to see what everyone was talking about. And so that's what I got out of it. And I came home and told my family, wow, mindset's a real thing.
Yeah, and because we've been to a lot, I think you get to that point where, particularly on some of the more evergreen topics, you have heard a lot of it before. It's said in a different way, but I now feel when I go to somewhere, I'm going for the people, I'm going for the experience, and if I can take 1 or 2 really good learnings out of it, I'm happy. I don't expect to have 48 hours worth of amazing information, because that's not a realistic thing.
You honestly can't. Like
No.
I mean, I don't know, maybe there is a person out there who can, but your brain gets full.
It does.
Absolutely.
By the end of the first day, even you're like, all that peopling, all that noise.
Yeah.
Whoa, it's intense, right?
So can we I just want to, sorry, I'm so sorry about my voice, but I just want to get this bit out, because I was thinking about it this morning as I was in the shower, because I knew we were going to talk about this. And it was about notes, conference notes. And I too have got years worth of conference notes. And I don't consciously sit down and read them. But for me, the act of writing them makes me more present in the session. So it has the opposite effect of pulling me away. It makes me more focused on what the speaker is saying. But I can read that conference note in 5 years' time and be taken immediately back to that talk. It's like an anchor, if you've done NLP or anything like that. But and the other thing that I've started doing, and which I've done this year, is I take photos, and I have a photo album on my phone. And instead of scrolling mindless social media with random crap, if I want a little hit of dopamine to look at my phone, I go through that photo album, because I've taken photos. So I've got the conference photos, but I've also got photos of my notes is there as well. And that way I've got them with me all the time. And that's a good way, so you don't feel that you've wasted all that time in ink. And I just felt that really cool. Yeah.
I took loads of photos too, but I don't normally go back and listen to them. I wanted to also talk quickly about Rachel Bailey, who was one of the other speakers. She spoke on craft and she was amazing. I loved her talks. And I got a lot of, in fact, I've made the notes, I'm looking at them again, and I'm going to use them in my current work in progress. So that's how much I appreciated what she was talking about, which I don't normally do. So that's really interesting. She talked about the girls in the basement, and I can't remember the name of the author who she got that from.
Barbara O'Neill.
And it's How to Tame the Girls in the Basement, or something is the book. And it was all about another way to look at learning at a conference environment is to take all the information in and then just kind of let the girls in the basement, which I think is essentially your muse or your subconscious, I guess, just kind of pull it out when it's needed. Like as you're writing your next book, maybe you won't really do it consciously, but you'll kind of just use some of that knowledge or information you gathered to actually help you get better in the writing of it. And there's an entire book on it. I haven't read it, but Rachel Bailey was recommending it, so I might actually go and buy it because I can't help myself. But that's another way to kind of, instead of having to consciously use the information that we're learning at conference, you can just kind of set it free and just assume that your subconscious will bring it back when it needs it.
We're going to put links in the show notes, but we've had both Rachel and Becca on the podcast, and Rachel is a superb teacher of craft topics. So
I really want to get her back on. I'm going to just put that out there.
I thought Sasha Black was great too.
Sasha.
She was.
We've also had her. Just saying, all the cool people come on here.
She was very. She spoke so well. She was really inspirational, very motivating. She just, she just kept you focused on her the whole time and what she was talking about. And for someone like me, who it takes a lot to engage with, it was, bomb. I was really focused on her and what she had to say. I really enjoyed her workshops too. Workshop.
And can I just say, shout out to our very own New Zealand's own Sadie King, who gave an amazing workshop on short romance. It was her first RWNZ conference, and she did an incredible workshop at that. Now, Sadie's been on the podcast as well, and I think we slightly bullied her into writing her book, which is probably, I would say, the best book to read on writing short romance. Like, it's business. She approaches it in a very business-like way. And even if you're not writing short romance, listening to or reading about her process is a really good primer on anybody wanting to approach writing in a really business way, if you like. But yeah, I think that people were blown away by that workshop. Absolutely blown away.
Yeah, there were some great speakers, so many that, and I think we got just as much actually sitting in the bar, or not the bar. I don't condone that.
Yeah, we did.
Drinking lots of alcohol.
Totally sat in the bar.
Okay, totally.
There's no
sat in the bar
pretending.
every day, every night. Those dumplings were great.
They were. I miss those dumplings.
Interacting with people as well that you haven't seen for ages,
And some of our people.
Yeah, our people.
Our people.
Yeah.
Hi again.
I felt like there was so many people that I wanted to go and sit down with and chat to.
But you never got time.
Didn't get time. Like there was just, just so many people, and it's like-minded people. That's what I love, right? Like you can go to an event or something in your town where you live, and there'll be lots of people, but you won't click with them in the same way as a conference full of other writers. There's just something about being there.
I always say it. How many writers do you know? Not that many. And we know quite a few, but what I'm saying in day-to-day life, not that many, right? Yeah. So it's nice to sort of just walk in and go, it feels like coming home.
Yeah. And I would say there was a very high proportion of new members to the organisation, which was awesome. And I think if you haven't been to a writers' conference and you're feeling really nervous, and it's totally understandable, but honestly, most of us are like that, really. I think there's and
I think in that environment, like I know we all try to do it, but we try to make an effort if we see someone who looks a bit lost to go and talk to them, and like it's a really friendly, kind environment. Most people are kind of welcoming and inclusive, so it's
absolutely. And they always have a new liaison speaker. If you can go to the New Zealand conference, it's a great foothold into starting your conference journeys before you enter into the bigger ones.
Because it's a bit smaller than
but
like if you went to one in America.
Or
But
Australia. We do get Australian
Australia.
authors
Yeah.
coming over
Yeah.
and coming to
Yeah.
the New Zealand one just because it's a lot smaller. Like, for example, I don't know how many people would go to the Australian one, but I
Yeah.
imagine it's more than
Yeah.
would go to the New
I would
Zealand.
think so,
I
yeah.
would imagine double, if not
Yeah,
more.
probably. Yeah.
And we get access to Becca's Time with
Yeah.
a smaller group of people. Do you know what I mean? Like you get
Yeah.
those international speakers. We get to kind of have almost a closer
Interact
relationship
with them,
than if you were going to say some big conference in the States
Mm.
or Australia. So that's a huge benefit to, coming to New Zealand.
And I was blown away by how accessible she was. We have had speakers in the past that they've done their keynote and then they disappear or might hang around for a few minutes, but she was literally there the whole conference.
They all were.
People would come up to her all the time, like even when
Mm.
she was having lunch, which is a bit on the nose, but she
Yeah.
never ever like looked uncomfortable or looked like, please save me, or I don't really want to talk to this person. There was nothing in her manner that wasn't good-natured openness. And
Sasha was the same.
right?
She was being approached
Yes.
constantly.
Yes.
But she was, it was great.
I
It
think
was
you
so
have to
wonderful to see.
expect it when
Yeah,
you're
you
at
do.
a conference.
With your
Host,
famous.
I mean, a
yeah.
guest, sorry.
We
Yeah.
had it. I mean, we were just swamped. It was like, but what do you do about that?
No, we did meet a heck
you're
of a
the
lot of
Spa
people.
Girls.
Yeah.
We got a lot of bad action, but
Yeah.
it was great. We didn't talk this year, which was deliberate. We decided we'd go and just enjoy it.
Yeah.
So how did you find getting home and sort of the aftermath? It's quite hard, I think, after a conference to sort of walk into your house and everything's different. Like you've gone from this crazy environment where you've done so much and you've had all this interaction and stuff back to real life, and they are not part of that. They're not part of that. They don't know what you've been through, and as much as you try to tell them, they're not really interested.
Yeah. It can be a bit of a downer, to be honest, coming back, because you've been in that kind of bubble of all the things, all the writing things.
Excited.
Visiting excitement.
Yeah.
It takes a while to kind of come down again.
Yeah.
One of the things I do, again, because I've got my notes, is I've made a list of maybe books or online things that I want to research. Yay, learner. But I would either buy or order the books, and that way kind of it keeps the joy going. And also Facebook friending people that I met or connected with, making sure that kind of thing, just trying to keep some of that connection going.
That's a good idea. I watched Divergent last night, which is the movie of the Veronica Roth book, and that was because Rachel Bailey mentioned it in one of her workshops, and I was watching it trying to remember all the stuff that she talked about and go, oh, that's that bit, and this is what they're doing here in this bit, and I can totally see, and and it was fascinating because I've never really done that before. I don't normally watch a movie with that kind of, it's quite so in the forefront of my mind, so that was fascinating to me.
Sadly, that's how I watch most mysteries now.
Yeah.
It does take a bit of the glow off, I have to tell you. When you're second guessing everything, and really, could that have happened?
Funny,
because we write fiction,
Yeah. I mean,
so real.
I always kind of like guess what's happening, but this was from like the saggy middle. Did you guys go to that, or was that just me?
No.
Just me that has a saggy middle, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, we didn't want to say anything. I think I was on the panel at that time.
Oh yeah, okay. So she talked about breaking up the middle into two bits and kind of and she kind of made it exciting to me, whereas before I'd always been like, I do sometimes get a bit bored in the middle of a book and I'm just trying to force my way through to get to the exciting end, whereas she made the middle bits exciting from what she said.
That's
so
cool.
It was fantastic.
So she split it into two.
She split it into two and then kind of explained what should be in both those sections. And I was like, she's right. It is exciting. It is something that we should be enjoying. And it's the meaty bit of the book and all the good stuff. And maybe if you're getting lost, there's a reason, like you're not putting enough of the good stuff in there and not actually doing what you should be doing, which was, so there you go.
That's so cool. Right. So what was your number one takeaway, Cher?
I'm not really sure. I think for me, the whole weekend of being with you guys and with people that are like us, sort of not overshadowed, but it was huge for me. It was really huge for me because you know, I mean, even though my husband's here, I am alone most of the, you know, a lot of the time. So it was, I don't know, just catching up with people and seeing people that are part of our podcast and our superstars, and you know, and seeing how well they're doing. That you know, I mean, that makes my heart sing, because I think just having a small part to play in that just is rewarding. It's very rewarding. But I have to say, I was actually introducing Becca Syme on the Friday, so I was actually with her the whole day, and I feel very privileged to have experienced that. I was shattered afterwards, but that was a lot of emotion coming into play, and like Wendy said, on that last day, you know, a lot of things welled up in me about, you know, being thankful for what we have and loving what we do. You know, even in the bad times, because the bad times don't last forever. You know? So
that's right.
Yeah.
What about you?
And I also was on a panel for being a what's the word? God, I just had it. Intuitive writer with A.K. Mulford and Becca Syme. So I was in excellent company there, and I learned a few things about myself, even as people are asking me questions, and I'm coming up with the answer, because often you don't think of things unless somebody asks you a pointed question
just something you
about your
intuitively
process.
do.
Yeah, exactly. So that was very cool. You had a similar experience, didn't you, Wendy?
Yes, I
So
did.
even though, can I just clarify, because Wendy had said previously we didn't speak at this conference, we didn't officially speak.
But Cheryl and I did.
But Cheryl and Wendy were both invited to just kind of last minute talk on panels. Not so much last minute, but you know. So
I talked about sex, baby. Basically.
That's what the title was.
Yeah. So that was interesting.
You learned a few things, didn't you?
Yeah, I learned a lot. But so, that was fun. And then for me, I think the takeaways, obviously being back with everyone was wonderful, but I think that whole, Becca Symes talked about sustainability as an author, and I think that really resonated with me. Some of the things she taught us to do about the tapping, the heart and things, if things get a little bit stressful. That sort of side of things about, I think one of the biggest things was, if things go wrong, you can fix it. You know, like that's what I took from her. And for me, I'm always about, it's always the next hurdle. Find the next thing. And by that, I mean, don't mean challenge. I mean, get those words down. Today I write 3,000, tomorrow I write 4, and then I must write 5. And then, you know, like I've got to get this done by this date, and rah, 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 rah. But what she was saying is that whatever you do, if you do something wrong, you can fix it. In this game, everything is fixable. If Amazon shuts your account down, if your Facebook ads are taken away, if you know, whatever goes wrong is fixable. And I think that was sort of like a aha moment for me. It was like I took a big breath. And I thought, you know what? She's 100% on the ball with that, because we are so hard on ourselves if things go wrong and if we don't meet deadlines and stuff. But in actual fact, what's the worst that can happen? And I think thinking like that and thinking beyond the deadline and beyond the expectation and beyond what can go wrong, for me was like a bit of an eye-opener. Like I was talking to my husband about it. He said, you never do mindset. I said, I know, but I feel like this was something I needed to learn, and I needed to learn it then, which sometimes happens, right? You're in the right place at the right time.
That's right.
So it was very deep for me, but that's what
even though we talk about it all the time, don't we? Everything's fixable. Sometimes you have to hear it from somebody else. It's just the way
you guys can talk at me till you're red in the face, and I won't listen. But you know,
we've noticed. But
but no, everything you take is like gold to me. Take it to heart. But you know, like just being in that room with all those people and feeding off that emotion that was going, and the way she was talking at us, to us, you know, like I just thought, oh, that really resonated.
I think it resonated with a lot of people in that room.
Yeah, agreed. And again, that's the power of the speaker and with what she's saying, because every single person's an individual, right, with different combinations of strengths, and yet it's still
everyone's fighting their own demons as well, you know, like and that was really good. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, for me, I'm going to keep it really short because of the seal-like voice, but it was that just because you're doing something or planning something in a strategic way, whether you're aiming at a particular defined market, doesn't mean that you can't have fun with it. In fact, it's really important to bring the joy and the fun into it. So often I think people see this sort of a black and white, either you're a, what's the word, like a writing to market or whatever the phrase that you choose is different to, writing from the heart. But that's just descriptive words that everybody has their own meaning of what's behind that, but you can have it all in the one thing, and that's what Sadie King really emphasized in her workshop, and it really clarified a lot for me. That was really good, because I'm doing the short romance and I really feel like I found the thing that works for me. I mean, I still haven't uploaded them yet, but I'm writing well and I'm getting there. But I've got Fight for the first time in goodness knows how long. I'm really, really enjoying it. And so that tells me that it's the right place for me. Now, the success is a different story. Success, depending on your measurement of sales or money or whatever, is another thing. But for me, just the success is actually enjoying writing. And so often I've sat at conferences and felt so, what's the word? Just sitting there the whole time thinking, oh my God, I should have been doing this, or all the years I've wasted trying that, or whatever. And it's never been positive, put it that way. And so for the first time this way, I came away and thought, I'm on the right path. So that was really good.
That's
right path
awesome.
for
What a
you.
great result.
Yeah.
What about you, Trudell?
Well, I was just thinking, so I really enjoyed all the craft workshops, but I'm kind of up with you guys on the whole Becca Syme adoration train, because that last speech she gave was, one of the things, and we've talked about some of the other things, one of the other things she said was, think about how much you're working now and the kind of life you're leading now. And there's a lot of us who have been just working all hours of the day, doing long hours, trying to just focus, and then kind of focusing on the fact that we're not where we want to be, for example. And she was like, can you imagine doing that for the next 25 years? And I was like, that sounds horrible. Like, what? Like, why would I, what?
Yeah.
And I hadn't ever thought about it like that. I've always just kind of chugged along in the now and just like, oh, this is what you have to do to kind of get. And then she was talking about happiness and how you get happiness and what it means, and our definition of happiness. And I think a lot of my definition of happiness was around money. Like, somehow I would be happy when I was making a certain amount of money. And now I'm kind of thinking, actually, and she basically said, the truth is that even when you get that amount of money, like when you achieve that amount of money, you won't be happy. It won't change that happiness level. It's not about the money. And that's just this kind of goal this random goal that you've got that's nothing to do with your happiness in the now or your happiness in the future. And so she really sort of started making me, and I kind of have been, but rethink my definition of success and what will make me happy. And it's not working all hours of the day and never seeing my family. That's for damn sure. And not stressing and not being stressed out all the time. I think that's another thing, that even if I'm not working as much as I think I should be, then I'm all like, oh God, there's something wrong and I'm not doing it right and I should be doing more and I should do this. And it's like, well, that's not helpful either. So it's that real kind of just having to calm yourself down and go, just enjoy the moment more, I guess. I kind of is
just
what I
step off that hamster wheel and see how it feels.
And just be a bit more in the present rather than trying to imagine some future and then kind of feeling bad that I'm so anyway, that's kind of what I got from that.
And that whole finding a happy moment in your lifetime when things are going really bad for you, finding a happy moment in your lifetime that really made you feel good, and go back to that, go back to the past and re-embrace those feelings you got when you were in that moment, and I really like that too.
So
Yay,
much
Becca.
goodness.
So much goodness.
So much.
Yay,
Think
Becca.
about like get a handful of those in your memories that you can just you don't have to search, they're just there at the forefront of your mind. I think that's a really good tip, actually. I just think
really good.
If you could just transport yourself and then have those feelings again, because that's what we want. We do want to be happy, don't we? but we spend so much of our time making ourselves miserable.
And I talk about after the conference, right? So I was like, oh my God, on Monday I needed to go get up and write all the books and then I didn't do any of that. Like I actually went to the dentist and got a filling replaced.
Yay, that's fun.
Don't do that.
Nice fun
So
stuff.
that would be tip number 1. On the day after a conference, don't do that because that makes you feel like crap. And more than it would normally, although it's really good dentist, awesome, didn't hurt, it was awesome, fantastic, recommend him 100%. However, I did spend the last 2 days tidying my office, moving things around, getting my, I don't know if you're watching the YouTube, you can see my books, my covers are on the wall in one corner, just almost like reorganizing my space so I can, and it's things that I've been meaning to do for like almost years, like since like for a long time, and I've just been kind of putting them off as kind of like relegating them down. And something about the conference, and maybe even just what Becca was talking about, made me want to make my environment a better space for myself, and made me, I don't know,
I just think it makes you more clear-headed if you can't see all the, the crap around you, if it's, if everything looks like it's manageable,
I haven't thought about that though. It's not that there's not a lot of crap in my office. It's because this is another thing from input, right? Because I'm high input and I listen to all the people saying, oh, you need to declutter and it all needs to be clear space. It's not that I need clear space. I just like to have, I need things to be out of visual, because if I can't see them, I forget about them. Out of sight, out of mind is me 100%. So whereas, I know you
could
guys
tell a story about that.
We love you.
I'm a lovely wife and I'm not at all mean to my husband.
No, go on, tell the story.
Versus these guys who need, like, I can imagine Cher just needing it to be very clean and clear because that's how her mind operates. It's very organized, and I'm not organized, and
that's okay. We're all,
and that's okay,
right?
And that's what because for a long time I was like, oh, I'm so wrong, and I'm doing it all wrong, and I need to be
why
more
can't
like
I
Cher.
be like Cher?
Why can't I be more like her? Whereas now I'm kind of like, it's okay. And I just dropped something, excuse me, because I was waving my hands around
excitedly.
I'm okay being like I am, and I can still kind of be successful
that's
how
the
I
goal.
am.
And that's the thing, you got to know you. And I think that's the real takeaway is from that weekend with all the Clifton Strengths and all the other stuff is know thyself, right? Know the thing that makes you tick, makes you happy, and makes you be able to function in a way that you can get your work done, but still be happy, still be productive, And I think we each have to stop worrying about what anyone else is doing and learn how our process is,
because it's different for everyone.
Absolutely 100% is. And I'm the same. I'm no different. I'm always thinking, well, why can she do that and I can't, but in actual fact, because we're different,
and that's okay.
And that is okay to be who we are, accepting of ourselves, I think.
I don't think it hurts to want to be better at something.
No. And learn. Learning's good.
And to learn, obviously.
Yeah.
But I think it shouldn't come at a heavy price. Only thing it should come at is the cost of your time, really.
And I think the comparisonitis, we do compare. That's what we do in this game.
If it drags you down, it's not helpful, is it?
Someone's succeeding, we want to break it down and know why, and why can't we be like them?
Or even getting jealous and kind of putting them down because they're successful. That's
that's
a rotten little core too. That's not good.
Absolutely. We're not like that, of course, but everyone, other people are. Yeah. Awesome. I
don't do that at all.
No,
the one other thing I wanted to mention, I don't know, we're trying to wrap up this and I will just mention it, but what you were just saying about everyone knowing their own strengths, it kind of brings to mind what Becca said about, like, often what we look at, we go, oh, I'm not very good at this maths, so I'm going to work harder at maths, but I'm good at English, so I'm just going to not bother with English because I know what I'm doing there. And actually it's and that's kind of what we get taught at school. That's what we get taught in life. Like, work on the things that you're not very good at to make yourself better at them. And she told this whole story, which I'm not going to repeat now, but basically the gist of it is actually you're better off working on the things that you were already good at, because you have the capacity to get way better at them.
That's right. I forgot that. Yes.
Yeah. Whereas if you work on the
yes.
things that you're not good at, you probably only get a little bit better at them, because it's not naturally what you're good at. So, and that's why you want to know your Clifton strengths, because it tells you the top 5 things that you are really good at, and that maybe you can lean into those things and work on those things a bit more, and you can be amazing at those things, and that's where you can get your genius from, because you're already good at it, and it's already kind of an ingrained part of you.
That's right. We're going to get Becca back on, aren't we?
Yeah, I'll
to have
got
a
you.
chat,
100%.
chat about all these things.
I think you could actually, I think a really good application of that theory, or more than theory, but would be in social media, for example. For some authors, they're amazing at Facebook groups, or they're like, I'm thinking Lucy Score, or amazing at newsletters, and but they're spending all their time trying to figure out TikTok, or they're spending all their time trying to figure out Amazon ads, or they're amazing at Facebook ads, but they don't really like their reader group. And so many of us are trying to do all the things to an equal level. And I think lean into what you're really good at.
100%.
Like the relator story. So someone, a friend is a high relator, and they were saying basically relators are terrible at social media, and it sounds like they should be good at it, right? Like the word relator, but it's because they relate to people, but they don't trust people immediately, and they have to know you better and trust you a little bit more, and then they get to know you a bit more, and then they trust you a bit more. So it's like
they want the deeper conversations.
Yeah, they want the deeper stuff, and they don't trust people immediately. So you've got to know them a while before they trust you. And someone like that going on social media, oh my God, like no wonder they all hate it. Like they don't want to give any piece of themselves to a wider audience of people they don't know. You know, you fully understand it. Versus, and me, I'm like, consistency is like number 33 in my on my is anyone surprised about that? No, they're not.
No judgment here, mate.
No judgment.
So for me, doing a Facebook group, I've tried several times to do a Facebook group, and I just can't. I started mine at the same time
you
as
learn
Wendy.
that you learn as you go, right?
Yeah, and that's fine. But it kind of made me feel better, because I was like, well, that's just not something I'm good at, but I can find other things that I can use to connect to people, and that's okay. So it's fine.
It's all good. You're doing good. Everyone's doing good. Remember that. Don't be hard on yourselves, people.
No.
Embrace who you are. And I think we should finish with that.
Okay. Embrace who you are, people.
Yep.
We love you all. Join us again next week. Where can we be found, maybe first, before I sign us
We can
off?
be found at the spargirlspodcast.com. We'd love you to join us on Patreon, and we've got a lovely group there called the Superstars that we have. We talk about blurbs and also any number of things, and we have different tiers you can come along. We have coaching tiers. We have so many things, all the things all the time. So come and join us.
Yeah, go check us out on Patreon.
Yeah.
It's probably like patreon.com/Spargirls
It is.
podcast or something like that. Shah's nodding. Yep, good.
Yeah, all good.
Yep.
The links are everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere.
Everywhere. Good things have held. Okay, awesome. Well, thank you for joining us for another episode of the Spa Girls podcast. We hope you find an amazing conference to go to sometime soon and take advantage of all the awesomeness that we've just given you.
Yep.
And otherwise, we'll be back again next week for another episode. But for now,
see you later.
Bye.
Bye.